Hey everybody, and welcome back to Keeping It Real with Tiff and Carl. I'm Carl Rabun.
I'm Tiff, but today you can call me Cash, Cash Money Records from 99 to 2000s. Oh, not all of that.
Ooh, oh, see, and I am Tango, as in whiskey tango foxtrot, but for some people that means something different, right? Some people
Yes,
it's a movie, some people it's a classic Wilco album, and for some
right.
people it's a call sign that you don't repeat in public, right? So yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, so how have things been since last time we spoke?
Warmer. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so happy I'm back in like normal weather again. It's not frigid here. It was in the like late 80s. Yeah, I'm gonna say late 80s, the high 80s
Late
yesterday.
80s.
Today it's like mid 70s. It's perfection. I love it. I love decent weather. I take it for granted. But when I'm back in my Southern California little perfect weather bubble, I'm so happy.
Very cool. I was gonna say you were in like the New Jack Swing era or something like that, late 80s. So
I was in the 30s. It was so frigid where I was at last week. It was like 37 degrees where when
wow.
we started. It was really cold. And then I was
Right.
like looking at other places that I love and I'm like, it's 73 in San Felipe. It's 72 in my house by Riverside. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I just need to be back in warm weather. And here I am. Yeah, I'm very grateful.
Very cool. Yeah, I
And I
was
still
out.
have my heater on.
So yeah, I have my ceiling fan on, so
Yes,
and I
yes.
cleaned my ceiling fans yesterday and got all the dust coming down into the nose. So yeah,
Good
you know.
times.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I was out somewhere. I can't remember exactly where. I don't know why I can't remember, but I was out somewhere Saturday, my wife and I, and we both looked at each other and said, "This is like perfect weather. This if it doesn't change, which you only get like 2 weeks of this, right? But that's why
Hmm.
fall's always been my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm expecting, I don't know, it might be in the 30s where I'm going this week. I am headed to sunny, beautiful downtown Mono County, Mammoth
Love
Lakes.
Mono.
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
I love it too. So I'm excited. I'm get to spend a day and a half training there. So I'm leaving Wednesday morning and get there for the afternoon class and then spend the night and teach on, the Thursday. So I'm driving back Halloween night. So I don't have to hand out, and I mean, I don't get to hand out candy to
mm-hmm.
trick-or-treaters. More's the pity, so yeah. So I haven't been there since the pandemic, since we were first locked in, and I know you said you've been there a couple of times. What should I expect? What should I expect? Anything change? Anything exciting, fun?
Well, the building, they have a new building. So it used to be like right across from the Safeway in that old shopping center. I don't know if you remember. It's like on the old road or Old Mammoth Road or something like that. So they're in a new, very modern, very cool like government building, which is really awesome. It's beautiful, fantastic. I love it. Other than that, not much has changed. Mammoth is Mammoth, and it's a small town, and everybody knows everybody, and they have all the skiers and outdoor enthusiasts that go out there to hit the slopes or the mountains or whatever else they're out there to do. But I just love it there. It's one of my favorite places. And when I'm there, I like to go to the Liberty Bar. I know. I love bars. I'm not an alcoholic. I promise you, I don't drink that much, but I love the atmosphere of like bars and pubs and breweries. They always have really good food and it's just a really casual environment, which I really appreciate. So, um, I really like the Liberty Bar because of that. They have again casual menu, good food, easygoing. People are all
Oh,
chatty in there, socialize. That's kind of my vibe. So
very cool. I wonder if they have a DoorDash. I mean, I might get to, you know, I'm that's my
it
vibe is
might.
to walk in. Wow, this is a cool place. Where's the pickup? Where's the food pickup? Oh, okay, great. Wow, this is really cool. I like this. How far am I
I,
from my hotel? Just
I have to tell you, like one of my favorite memories. First of all, let me say the people of Mono County take such good care of me when I'm there. Like I feel like royalty. And I remember the very first time, well before I even worked for the company that we both worked for, but when I still worked for like a county government, I went up there to offer them support during the last automation change. And I told them like I don't know how to drive in the snow. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I'm kind of an idiot. Like I've never lived in a snowy place, and so um, like I might need some help. I don't know how to put on chains. Like I have no experience. And they sent somebody every day to my hotel to pick me up. They took me out to lunch every day, and every night they'd send somebody to take me out to dinner for the whole week that I was there. It was like
Wow.
royalty. I mean, love it. And that's just like the hospitality that I've always received there is they always take care of me.
Yeah,
Um, I love it so much. So tell them I said hi. Tell them I said
I
hi while we're
will.
there.
I
I love
will.
love them.
You
I
know, one
also
thing I
love their
remember,
neighbor. Oh, go ahead.
what, Inyo?
I love their neighbor Inyo too. Inyo is like the
Yeah.
coolest. I love those two spots. I anytime they ask me to train out there, I'm like, say less, I'll be there.
Yeah. And then, because then they share stuff. Monyo,
Hmm.
Inyo, Mono, and Sierra, right? So,
Hmm. Hmm.
and maybe I'll get to see Gabriel this today. That'd be cool if I could see Gabriel this week. So,
I saw him at
yeah.
Tribal. He doesn't
I
work
saw him
for
at Tribal
Alpine.
too.
Yeah,
That's
I don't think
right.
he
He worked
works.
for the tribe. You're
Yeah,
right.
so you won't see Gabe. Yeah,
All right.
if you
I
know, you
saw.
know. If you know, you know. If you know Gabe, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You can't miss Gabe. So yeah.
One of my favorite things about Gabe, just I told him this story because I thought about when I saw him at the Tribal TANF conference, is that he told the story one time that because he was like a one-man show for his whole entire department, like the whole
Mhm.
department, it was him. So I remember he pissed somebody off and they're like, I want to talk to your manager. He's like, oh, okay, hold on a second. And he spun his chair around like that. And he's like, how can I help you? And I was like, that is so rude and so hilarious all at the same time. Like,
And he probably did it
if
with that
that had
smile.
happened, yeah. If it had happened to me, if someone had done that to me, I would probably lose my shit, to be honest with you. But it just when he did it, it was so hilarious. Like his whole persona, it just made me laugh so hard. It was funny. So
Yeah,
thanks, Gabe. Thanks for the memories. That one will always stick with me a thousand times.
absolutely.
Hilarious.
Well, if he's friends with you on Instagram, you need to tag him. I've never been his friend, so I need to. Maybe he's
I don't
on.
think I
I
am
don't know.
either.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't do it. I don't know. He's a mountain man, so you know.
Yeah. I don't know.
But
I don't think I've ever seen him on social media, but maybe we'll find him. Gabe, if you're out there, spinning
you know, one thing
chairs.
one thing I know from Mono is that's one of those counties where their seasonal roles go down in the winter because a lot of folks who are ski instructors and whatnot,
Hmm.
they end up if they stay there all year, then they collect unemployment till they can't, and then right. So it's yeah, that's one thing I do remember them saying that. So okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll let you know how it goes, and you let me know how the
Lucky.
trick or treaters are. Do you hand out candy? Do you? No.
Um, it's not that I don't want to. My neighborhood doesn't generally get trick-or-treaters. I've lived in this house for, I don't know, 12, 13 years now. And it's just not, there's not a lot of young kids that live around here, and we're not in a neighborhood where they would be like, oh, they give out big candy bars. Like nobody comes over here. So we've bought candy before and end up like eating two pieces of it. And I mean, giving out two pieces and eating the
Yeah.
rest. But so I don't really buy it anymore. And the other thing too is I have a very reactive dog. And so I'm kind of grateful that we don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters because I'd have to like, I don't know, um, give him a tranquilizer because he would lose his mind with he can't even hear a ring doorbell like ring on the TV
Mm-hmm.
without losing his mind. Like
Oh,
he is very reactive to company because we don't have
yeah.
any friends, so nobody comes over ever. So when
Yeah.
somebody comes over, he's like, "This is dangerous." So it would be really hard. We would have to sit out on the front porch and just pass out candy from the driveway if we actually had traffic, but nobody comes over here.
Yeah, my
So
daughter did that a couple times and we didn't get much traffic. I mean, we live at the top of a hill, so and then I noticed that that's different than maybe when I grew up. I mean, our neighborhood, just everyone had candy. Nowadays, people
mhm,
go to specific neighborhoods,
right.
to So it's like a destination. And then there's some neighborhoods who just like do it up. I mean, it's real cool. Have you ever been to the city of
Yeah.
Montera, which is on the coast past Pacifica? They shut down like the whole city, and it's just like one huge block party, and it's so cool. And houses, you walk past houses, and they have, drinks and games and all this cool stuff. So it's pretty neat. So
Yeah. We don't
yeah,
live in that kind. Never been so
yeah,
happy to be lower middle class in my life. We don't care about that stuff. I don't even think anybody in my whole street even has like Halloween decorations up. Like I don't
yeah,
even see any of that. So, yeah,
yeah. That's all right.
it's
Christmas is
not too.
coming, so
We don't do that either. There's
no,
like one neighbor that has like a inflate. I never decorate, not because I'm not a festive person. I just don't have time. And I'm never home long enough to enjoy it. Like I have tons of Halloween decorations. I actually love Halloween. Halloween's one of my favorite holidays. But, you know, the life I live now, I'm not home. So it's like if I'm home for the weekend, to what put up all the decorations just so they can collect real spider webs, like it's
yeah,
not worth it to me. And so, and I don't have kids at home to even enjoy it. Like it would be different, like to put it up so that they could enjoy it, but I'm not there.
yeah,
Nobody's here. So it's
yeah,
just kind of a waste of time. My
yeah. I
house is
remember.
Halloween all year long. So whatever.
Cool. No, my wife, my daughter, she loves Halloween, and she likes she's got two outfits, right? And she always likes to pass out candy. She wanted inflatable, so I remember getting her just this one inflatable ghost that just sat in our on our lawn for a while, and she loved it. I mean, she was happy. She doesn't do it anymore, but it was just her one little inflatable. And now she's going to a friend's house to pass out candy, and spending the night there. So, which is cool because she's not going to get any traffic here. So, but I don't know. We have more
Uh,
kids in the neighborhood this year, but I won't know because I'll be driving back. So,
that's
yeah.
right. That's right. Well, I
So,
won't because I'm gonna lock the door. I'm gonna lock the door and make me a little cocktail. I don't know yet. We'll find
see
out. We'll find out.
a
I've
little.
got to hurry up and catch up on my novella because it's almost over and I need to finish it so I can get that sense of satisfaction, and how it ends because I'm very into my novella right now.
Ooh, which novella is
Okay.
that?
El Conde, Amor y Honor.
I've
It's the
seen
Count.
that.
It's basically like a retelling of like the Count of Monte Cristo, but
Hmm.
with more intrigue and drama and love affairs and slapping. It's so juicy. I love it. It's so good. It's getting to
Yeah.
the part where like all the secrets are starting to come out and like you've been like the slow burn and now everything is like sizzling and popping like some fajitas. It's really good. I was watching it before I came on here with you and I had to pause and be like, I've got a commitment, but I'm going to come back and find out what happens. It's so
Okay.
good.
Well, this might be a very quick episode, just so you all know.
I know
But
I have
yeah,
to find out what's happening right now. If Vicente is going to go down for the murder, I have
yeah,
to find out.
yeah. My
Yeah.
my novella is coming on later on today. So
Football.
excited.
Football.
No, no.
Oh,
Below deck sailing yacht. So yeah,
okay.
it's
Okay.
yeah. I need to see what happens with Daisy and Gary. And so they have a love affair on and off again. They've been, in the episode now for 4 years, and it's just one drama after another.
Well, that was my going to be my question for you this week. That was
Okay.
my question is like, what is your like guilty pleasure, like trash TV that you know is trash and gives you no any kind of educational value, but you still tune in and watch it? Like trash,
So
trash.
below deck sailing yacht,
Okay.
the challenge. Yes, the challenge. Yeah, I'm waiting for that episode on Wednesday, but and they're going really slow this year, so which is cool. So there's a lot. I don't even know if they're like halfway through the episodes yet, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe the final will be long this year. But that and the first two episodes of the second season of Lioness dropped yesterday.
Okay.
And do you ever watch? Have you ever seen that?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Uh, so it's written by the guy who writes Yellowstone,
Yeah.
and I mean that guy he writes like seven different shows. I was just telling my wife today we were watching it. She's homesick, and So we watched the first two episodes, and I said, how does he stay in shape? Because they show, of course, he's a special ops guy, so he's got a shirt off. And I'm like, how does he stay in shape like that and write 7 episodes of TV for every week? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. She's like, well, it's easier to maintain it than get it. And I said, well, that's true. But
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's my those are my guilty guilty pleasures that
Mhm.
I tend to gravitate towards. And then I have my prestige shows. And then football. But
Mm.
how about you?
So first and foremost, I want to say I love the challenge. I just watched the House of Villains with
I
Johnny
watch that
Banana.
too. Yes.
Uh,
No, Wes is on this season. Wes
I
is on
heard
this.
that.
Yeah.
So one thing
Yeah.
you have to know about me is that I do not watch things while they're currently airing. I have to wait until the whole thing is over so I could watch them consecutively because this whole like cliffhanger, wait to the next week is not how I'm choosing to live my life. I'm not
Yeah.
doing that. So even like big shows like Sons of Anarchy, Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, where everybody's like, oh man, it's so good. I was like, I'm not watching it until the series finale and then I'll watch it all. So I will wait 8 years to watch a series. I will. I am. That's who I am as a person.
So you watched Sons of Anarchy 8 years after it came out?
I watched it when it was 100% over. I started watching it.
Wow.
Yep. And we watched it. This is how long ago it was. It was back when Netflix used to still mail DVDs. We would get the DVD that had 3 episodes on it, and we would watch those 3 episodes, mail it back, and then get the next one like 2 days later, and we would watch 3 episodes. And then I had to bump up my membership to 2 DVDs at a time. So I would mail one, have one, mail one, have one, so we could watch 3 episodes every night. That was like our routine. Um,
Wow.
Back in the olden days. God, saying DVD and mail, that makes me feel like a freaking dinosaur. But like
Yeah.
I'm a binger 100%. Like I'm not waiting. Like Yellowstone, I didn't think I would catch up to Yellowstone, and I super caught up to Yellowstone. But
So that's
um
annoying, right? Now you have to wait.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to wait for that. But I do love the challenge. And again, bananas is my favorite. But CT, if you're out there, you're happily married, I'm happily married, but we could just start a little thing. You know what I mean? Like,
TT pro tip
call me.
number 5,000. Yes. Yeah.
CT is a baddie, and I've had a crush on him since day one. Like he's something. Anyways, sorry, trashy TV. I'm putting the trash trashy TV.
Taking out the
I
trash out.
Yes, I love 90 Day Fiance, all of them. All of them. 90 Day Fiance, before the 90 days, 90 Day Fiance, um, uh, the other way, the couples retreats. If it's 90 Day Fiance, I dig it. With the, there are a few cast members that if they never brought them on again, I'd be super happy. Like we're done with the whole Big Ed storyline, like done. Let's not see Big Ed again. I'd love to never see Angela again. She can kick rocks with no socks. Can't stand her. Natalie also, goodbye, good riddance. Goodbye, Natalie. Please let's not rehash that. Um, but Larissa from 90 Day Fiance is on the new House of
She is.
Villains as well.
She is. She is. I won't
Yeah.
tell you how
So
she's doing. So yeah.
I can only imagine. But yeah, so I love, and as a matter of fact, 90 Day Fiance. So Kenny and Armando, if you're out there listening to me, they actually, Armando's from San Felipe, which is where I live in Mexico. And his parents, where his parents live is right across from where my realtor is. And so I actually am going to be going next week, and I'm taking my dog to Armando's pet groomer slash boarding house.
Yeah.
And I'm secretly hoping my whole plan is that I'm going to secretly run into Armando. He's going to say, "Oh my God, we're best friends," and then I will be on season 21 of 90 Day Fiance as a side cast member. That's the whole plan. The whole plan. I don't know what we're doing after that, but season 21, here I come. I thought this out a little bit. Mhm.
That's a good question, right? I mean, like if you could have put yourself, or maybe we asked that question already. If you could put yourself on any TV, what any TV show, where would you? I had a girlfriend in high school. Just she decided she would
Mhm.
be perfect on 90210.
Mm.
She's like,
Mm.
She's like, they don't have any black cast members. I would fit in totally. I know how to work with those people. It would be great. I want to be them.
I don't know if I'd ever want to be on a reality show.
Hmm.
Um, I see like Big Brother and like The Challenge and other like the Survivor. Number one, I wouldn't be able to do any of the physical challenges. So I'm off of Survivor. I could
Amazing
probably
Race.
do the Amazing Race, maybe. So I could probably do like the politicking part of it. I'm really good with like people. I'm not malicious, so I don't think I could win because I couldn't like be cutthroat. I don't want to win at somebody else's expense. I think that's why I like Bananas so much, is that Bananas, he doesn't care. Although he was on House of Villains, he was such a nice guy. But anyways, I don't have that instinct to be like, oh, let me play you so I can win. That's just
Yeah.
not in my personality. But I would probably be the one calling out other people who are being a liar. I'd probably be the one like, didn't you just tell so and so that you were in an? I'd be blowing up everybody's game. I would ruin it for everybody because, like, let's tell the truth. You're being fake, being phony. So, yeah, maybe I wouldn't be good on one of those game shows. Never mind. I talked myself out of it. But But yeah, 90 Day Fiance. I just love 90 Day Fiance just in general. I know some of the storylines are fake, but I just love like the exploration of like the cultural differences and trying to like, can love really surpass all of it? And the stuff that comes up when people have real different the way their families engage and intervene. Like, I don't know. I just find it fascinating.
Yeah.
My favorite one is the other way when they go to the other countries. That's always like my favorite when they go to like India, or like what right now there's one where one of the guys is in Indonesia with his wife and he's trying to navigate like Indonesian culture. Like that's really my favorite one for sure.
Yeah. Very cool.
What I find really most interesting, and I promise we can talk about something else, is that whenever it is the people coming from wherever they're at, whatever country, and they're coming to the United States, like almost universally, the friends and family members are almost always concerned that they're just using you for a visa. They're just using you for a green card.
Yeah.
They just want the American experience. But nobody ever says that when they're going to like the other countries. Like,
Mm.
oh, you're just going because you want your Indian citizenship. You're just going because you want your Indonesian. Like, it pisses me off every single time when they're just using you for their green card. Like, no, what if they actually really love each other?
Yeah.
Like leaving your whole life and your whole country and your whole everything to go be with somebody is not, I don't know. Anyways, let me get off my box because I get all passionate here. Like, anyways, that's all. 9 Day Fiance. That's my answer.
Okay. I'll go with Below Deck Sailing Yacht. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Although House of
Perfect.
Villains is catching up quickly. Yes.
Yeah, that one's good. Omarosa. I can't stand her. Anyways, that's a whole nother story. Omarosa. Don't say that 3 times. I don't want to say that one more time because then she might pop up behind me and I'm not ready for that villain. Okay. Anyways, what's up, Carl? What's your question? You have a question this week?
Yeah. So, I chose another question from my icebreaker question box, just a random. And the question that I pulled was, what is something that you will never do again?
Okay. So I thought like I should be really like thoughtful about this. And then I decided I'm going to do a little surface here, but it's for anybody who's known me for a long time. This will make sense. One thing I'll never do again is cut bangs. There, I said it. I'm not doing bangs again. I went through like this whole bang era. And if I look at like Tiffany now, and Tiffany with bangs. Tiffany made all kinds of mistakes in her life. And so I would just never go through that bang era again. If you ever see me like have my bangs cut, seek an intervention. I'm gonna need some support because there's something that's going incredibly wrong and I probably need some help. So if you ever hear me like I'm thinking about bangs, or I was looking at old pictures and I missed the bang era, then just know that I'm about to have a crisis and I need some help. So Bangs. That's my answer. I know that's probably very surface, but it's deeper than that. And those who know me, and they'll know what I'm talking about. No more bangs. What about you, Carl? What would you never do again?
So there isn't many things that I would just categorically cross out. Um, but I would say the one thing that, well, there's two things. Okay, so one is I will never drink um, Hennessy as shots
Okay.
ever again.
Okay. I support
I mean,
that.
I like to be in control of myself. I am not a huge drinker. I'm a social drinker, but um, I do not like to make a fool out of myself. And the one time that I've made a fool out of myself at a bar was my friend gave me Hennessy shots to congratulate me for finishing my one of my the class part of my PhD program, and I
Mhm.
fell asleep at the bar, and they kicked
Okay.
me out. And so anyway, so I mean, which was 12 years ago. So I will never drink Hennessy as shots. I try not to drink Hennessy anymore as a rule. Sorry, guys, but
Yeah.
just I think I've maybe my tolerance is different for that. But then another thing I definitely will not do is I will never fly into Crescent City Airport again.
Okay. Yeah.
And I
There
think
you go.
I might have told that story last time. I'm not sure, but because we talked about Crescent City, but I flew
Yeah.
in because it was a 2 day class, and I flew in on a it was a 1 day class, but it's a 3 day trip, like you mentioned, right? So
Right. Right.
I flew in on a Wednesday, and I got there, got in my hotel room, taught on Thursday, and then I spent the night and was flying out on Friday morning. I had to be in Tahoe on Saturday morning, and so what they didn't tell me was that Crescent City Airport has, historically gets fogged in. And so I was on a 9 o'clock flight. I figured I'd get back home and rest and relax and be able to be up at 4 in the morning for the trip to Tahoe. And first flight was canceled. Second flight was canceled. Stuck in Eureka, couldn't get past the fog. The fog would not lift. They kept saying it was going to burn off by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. We had another one come in at 12 o'clock that you could hear it, and it actually got down to the level where it was loud and then just kept on going. And then there was one more trip at like 2 o'clock, and they said, if this doesn't work, we don't have another flight until Sunday at noon.
Hmm.
And I mean, I wasn't going to get stuck in a foreign land, and I had somewhere else to be. And so as soon as I heard that it wasn't going to happen, I ran to the rental car place. It was just there was just a Hertz place there, and they had one car
Hmm.
left, and it was a Toyota Yaris, and I was pushing three bills at the time, and so 7 hour trip at 4 o'clock. I didn't get there till 11:30, and got into bed. And after a trip, I can't go right to sleep after got out
Right.
of a car, and so I literally fell asleep along the way to Tahoe. I fell asleep in the beginning of our sessions we were doing in Tahoe, and it was just embarrassing and
Ah,
it was frustrating. And so, whenever I make that trip, it's always going to be in a car. I trust myself in driving, even though I've driven through rainstorms along that highway, and you know how fun and interesting that highway can be. But at least I have an exit. There are other places I can drive back around and go through Oregon, like we talked about, or you know, just there's other means to get there. I mean, unless
yeah.
some sailing captain is picking me up along the way and taking me. So yeah,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
love you all, Del Norte County. I love you all. I love coming to see you guys. Just
Yeah.
know that I drive up there every time I come, and there's a reason
Yeah.
for it. So
Yeah.
that's my answer.
I feel that. Yep. I love being there. It's hard to get there. There's a few places like that in California. I love going, difficult to get there. So
Yeah, and I'm
yeah.
finding
I
that.
feel the same with Mono. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm finding that with once I'm there, everything is the same energy, the same commitment level. I love what I do. I love what we do. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to not do it, and until I can't physically do it, I always tell people they're just gonna have to roll me out of a room one day. Either I'm gonna die in bed or die in a
Hmm.
training room. But
Hmm.
it's getting there and getting back that is becoming harder and harder every passing year, right? So,
Yeah,
and
that's a true
so
story.
it's a challenge. But that's the life of a trainer, but
Yeah.
but it's not just the life of a trainer, a human services trainer, which is what I really dig, right? So, you know,
It's not just luxurious vacations, lavish vacation.
whoever said that has never been on a trip, has never been in on a week where you go to three different counties and three
Hmm.
different beds with
Right,
three different levels of accommodation. Shoot,
right.
I'm going to Lassen County sometime in the spring. I got in Lassen County. I was up in Susanville, right, and
Mhm.
at a Motel 8, and the power went out, and it was 27 degrees, and they gave me an extra blanket, which was no more than a blanket you would get in basic training, and they finally got the power back on. The generator kicked in, but the generator was only for the side of the motel that had the office. And the generator is right next to my window. So I'm hearing the generator going off and it's not even providing me warmth. That was a that was one of those nights. But that was luxurious. That's such a, you know, fun and exciting. I mean, it's great when I'm with them.
Yeah,
They got in Spaghetti Tuesdays up in
exactly.
Susanville are the bomb, but I mean, yeah.
Prizes and punishment. No, and it is. I think it's just like anything else in life. There's the good, there's the bad. There's the good, there's the bad.
Mhm.
I agree with you. I love being in person. I love the energy of the classroom. I love connecting with people. I love being able to walk around and, build connections and make myself available for those little one-on-one conversations that are so meaningful. Or
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
all of that.
Especially in the smaller counties. I mean, it's just, because
Yeah,
they don't get a lot of that. And so it's awesome.
yeah,
I'll gladly do that.
yeah. But it's also late nights, long drives, terrible food, uncomfortable beds, inconsistent, sleeping patterns.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it, is all I'm
Sure.
saying. So
Yeah.
for anybody who has like guest speakers who come in and they're from another place, like just know that they're there with you for a couple of hours, but they probably put in hours and hours and hours of preparation that's unpaid to get there with you. So just keep that in mind.
Treat them with love and respect, especially if they're good.
Right.
If you want them to come
Right.
back and they
Yeah.
deserve it. So
And
yeah.
they care about you, and they care about you because trust and believe, there are some counties I won't travel to. We won't say their names out here, but there are certain counties that I'm not going to make that trip to.
Yeah.
So if I go, I'm at a point in my career where I can be a little bit more selective. In the beginning you just say yes to everything, but now I can be more selective, and so I only say yes to the classes I really want to do, and I only say yes to the places I really want to go. And if
Yeah.
I don't really like the class or I don't want to go to the place, I just say no, thank you, and life goes on. But
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, there you go. I don't know. We're tooting our own horn right now. I feel like we're in a full symphony at this point. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But that's, I guess, a good space to talk about self-awareness. I don't know. Where our topic today is emotional intelligence and talking about the different components of emotional intelligence and how they show up at work and have an impact at how we work and how we get out of work and take that home with us as well. So I have a quick question for you, Carl, and that is, does emotional intelligence or has emotional intelligence come somewhat naturally to you, or is it something that you have had to develop?
Yes. And
Okay, perfect.
I'll explain that, right? So um I think it comes to me maybe more naturally than other folks, right? In terms of, personality. My personality has always been, well, when we talk about the domains, and I'm sure you're going to spill out the domains for us, but there's one particular domain about how you land on other people. And that's something that maybe comes quicker for me because I definitely am a people pleaser and I'm paying attention to how people are receiving me, right? Maybe not so much when I was younger, but then I mean, most people aren't that self-aware when you're younger, no matter how, your personality shows up. But I'm more relationship focused. So I tend to focus more on people and how I'm doing with them. Um, but that also is a challenge because what I've had to develop is my own understanding of my needs and how it affects me, right? And so being in tune to the entire um the entire system of emotional intelligence and which domains and which we'll talk about um has I've grown into, right? And so it's definitely something I've had to come to in that. But I think in terms of where I've I could think it's probably more natural to me to think about how other people are feeling or how to address their needs. Um, but then also my responses to it, that's something that I've had to hone and acquire. Right. So yeah. How about you?
Yeah. This is definitely something I've had to put a lot of work into, like,
Yeah.
period. I didn't grow up with tons of emotional intelligence. We weren't a family that prioritized emotional intelligence. Going back to the idea of the drama triangle, we were very reactive. I was in a very reactive environment, um, where you just said what was on your mind, you said what you were feeling, and however it landed, it landed. So wasn't a lot of self-awareness, for sure. I put up the graphic here so we can look at these different components. There's five of them. So self-awareness is one of them. And for me, the way I'm thinking about self-awareness is number one, being able to identify what you're feeling, but also having some self-awareness around how you might be perceived by others or how you're expressing yourself. So that was something I don't think I was able to articulate. Most people only know three emotions: happy, mad, sad. That's it. But there's definitely a lot more complexity to the human experience. Um, when it comes to self-management or self-regulation, this was definitely not something I was good at. And I still have to, like, woosah, from time to time. I, again, can be very reactive. I wear my heart on my sleeve, where people usually know how I'm feeling. I'm not ashamed of my emotions. So if I'm feeling frustrated, you'll know about it. If I'm feeling happy, you'll know about it. However, there's a time and a place. And so, being able to curb what I share or to curb what other people are experiencing has been a challenge, but it's something I think I've really mastered. Um, and then, of course, social awareness and relationships. Relationships for me kind of connects back to, um, how I engage with people and, how I manage the relationships and their emotions. So social awareness for me has a lot to do with empathy and being able to see what other people are feeling and connecting with that as well, and being able to adjust based on what I'm noticing from others.
Mhm.
So, as an example, if I'm trying to have, like, a complex relate or a complex conversation with, let's say, my sister, and there are some, underlying emotions behind that conversation. That social awareness is me kind of observing my sister's reaction or the way she's processing the information, and knowing when I can maybe go in a little bit deeper or when I need to step back and maybe take my foot off the gas a little bit to allow that space, which is not something that, I can say I've historically been really good at, because I've got a point to make and I'm going to make it regardless of what the other person's going through. So I think becoming, like, more nuanced in, again, what the other person is experiencing, and not just thinking about the point that I have to make, is part of that growth. So, and all of that's connected to our motivation and what we're willing to do. We have to be motivated to practice these things because, again, It's a skill set, just like learning again how to fix a car or how to work a computer program or how to use your new phone. It's something you have to develop and learn and practice till you become very fluent in it. And it's not always easy, I will say. Spending
Yeah.
some time with my family, though, can I just say I've been spending a lot of time with my family recently, and I will say, man, I've come a long way. I'm like really, really kind of noticing like, oh, I'm growing. Like the things that used to be very maybe triggering for me or would get me into a place of judgment, it doesn't anymore. And I see things through like a different lens, which has really helped me, I think, love people a little bit harder. Like I can love them a little bit harder because I have a better understanding of maybe what they might be feeling or going through even if it's different from my experience. And I'm like, that's growth. That's really, really growth. And I've had to do like an apology tour as well, with some of my family members about like how maybe I've treated them in the past. Like the intentions were never bad, but the impact was not. So really being able to acknowledge my own deficits and ask for some forgiveness, and it's gone really well. So that
Yeah.
is that's my story. I bet you a lot of people in my Bang era wish I knew more about this, is what I'm saying here. Those who knew me in my Bang era wish I had seen this graphic a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. So, and I can see that, just that idea, like I was mentioning, just maybe some of this was something that I thought about maybe a little more naturally, but it doesn't mean that just because I thought about it and focused on things didn't mean I was doing it right, right? Or doing it in a way that was useful to others or useful to myself and my own growth, I
Mhm.
mean, with self-awareness, I think of, the idea, just how I deal with my emotions, right? And you know, how do I feel about myself, right? So just dealing with your own emotions
Mhm.
is not always easy, right? And so how do I feel how do I respond, when I'm super excited, right? How does that change my thought processes? How does it change my thought process and actions when I'm upset or, when somebody does a pet peeve around me that just annoys me, right? And so it's important to have that awareness of those things that might trigger you to have some type of response that is different than who you who you want to be, right? And then another component of self-awareness is it's self-confidence, right? So believing that you are, capable, and not just capable, but believing that you're going to be successful in whatever it is that you do. And that's something I still, you know, think about all the time, just, as much coaching as we do, right? And
Mhm.
much interactions with professionals and just people in general. There's a lot of imposter syndrome that goes around. And, if anybody, imposter syndrome is that, when people have that belief that, what am I doing here? Am I capable of doing this? Why am I in this position when there might be other people who could do the job better than me, or am I going to fail? Right. And so just having that mindset can really keep you from achieving things, either things that you want to do or when you're in positions that you end up in, from following through on some things and taking chances and really believing that, your choices, your your actions are something that is warranted, merited, that's the right thing to do, quote unquote, right? And so sometimes people maybe are a little timid, they let other people take over. Sometimes they end up not engaging in the way that they could, in those positions, in those roles, or just, in terms of their life and their careers, right? And so, just really having that confidence. I mean, it's something that I know, shoot, I mean, I'm in a couple different bands, and I can tell you that Um, every time, up until maybe about 2 years ago, I thought every time that I was going to get up and sing that I was going to fail. My voice is going to crack. I'm going to forget something, right? People aren't going to like me. And and so it was, I mean, and I've been singing since I was 8 years old, right? And singing in front of thousands of people sometimes, but sometimes just singing at a club in front of 30 people that know you, right, is still one of those things. Oh my gosh, how is this going to turn out? It's just, and now I've gotten to the point where I'm gonna get up. I know the music. I know how my voice is. I know how, I prepared myself for this, and so I'm gonna be fine, right? Those things. If my voice cracks, that's okay. I've recognized that other people's voice cracks and nobody else cares about it. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
it's funny. I was listening to Keith Urban on a podcast this week, and he country singer. I don't really listen too much to him, but I mean, he seems like a really cool guy, and he's in recovery, and he said his last sponsor got into him, because he said he's always worried about, oh my God, how is this going to look if I do this, or what's my issue? If I make this mistake, then how are people going to respond to me? And his sponsor said, you know how many people are really thinking about you right now? And he's like, no, how many? He goes, no, but nobody. Nobody's really thinking about you right now. They're thinking about themselves. They're wrapped up in their own stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
if they're thinking about you in that way, then that means that they're haters. And why do you care about those folks anyway, right? But it's very often we get so wrapped up in how are people going to receive me, and if we get so wrapped up in it, there might be things that could be very helpful for people that we don't end up engaging in, right? And it really is a challenge. I mean, there's some folks that I've coached that are way up in organizations, state organizations, that sometimes they feel like, well, why am I here? Right? Maybe I'm just here because I've been here the longest, or I'm the only person who knows about this stuff. I mean, does that mean that I'm going to be good? Right. And they let that be the overriding thought that carries them into an engagement with somebody that, can end up being less meaningful for that person, or sometimes even destructive, you
Yeah.
know?
I know I've experienced that before. Almost every time it's like a new audience or a new topic or like a new thing, I'm like, oh, what if I blow it? And then I start and it's fine. But
Yeah.
I kind of get into my own head, but I will say there's the opposite of what you just mentioned, right? Where people are not underestimating their ability, but instead overestimating their ability. The Dunning-Kruger effect, where people don't have the self-awareness to realize that they're maybe not as competent or not as skillful in a particular area. So it's a lack of awareness about it's the opposite of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Everybody else is the imposter, and you're the only one that knows what you're doing, and that too has just as detrimental of an effect than thinking you're not good enough. It's thinking you're too good, and I
Yeah.
see that happen sometimes in leadership where people rely too much on their technical skills, but when it comes to their leadership skills, they are fully unaware that they're creating a toxic environment and people can't stand them and are actively disengaged from the work. That to me is when I hear people don't want to work anymore. No, no, no. People don't want to work for you anymore. And how are you exploring like why that is?
Yeah.
So self-awareness is both, I think, internal, but also having some awareness how other people are seeing you or receiving you is just as important.
Oh, absolutely. And that, that's a big part of that social awareness, right? I've known somebody who worked for, the federal government, and was bounced around 6 or 7 different offices.
Mhm,
And each
mhm.
time it was, well, the manager was this, or those people were rude to me, or, I didn't like the way that they did things. And it was always somebody else's fault. It was some other office's fault. And but what's the one common denominator here? Right. And so that's something that if you don't recognize that, that's a challenge. But I mean, how many people do that on a regular basis, Tiff? I mean, it's like
Right.
I mentioned, the idea of being that. relationship focused as opposed to task focused, right? And those folks that are task focused, they're so focused on accomplishing things and getting things done that they don't always see the impact they have on other people, right?
Hmm.
And so it's they might step on toes or might dismiss people or might not, you know, have the other people's thoughts or ideas as valid or as significant as theirs, right? Like you mentioned, but you know, then us being relationship focused, sometimes we get so wrapped up in how other people are receiving us that it affects the way that we do things. And so being too much on either side can really be a challenge. So having that boundary, I mean, Jung talks about your personality. I do a lot of Myers-Briggs stuff, a lot of DISC stuff, and people say, well, I took the Myers-Briggs in college, and now it's different. Does my personality change, right? And what Jung says, your personality doesn't change. Your perception of your personality changes due to your understanding of yourself and the pressures that other people put on you.
Hmm.
And so as a child, your parents, teachers, right, then peers, you know, significant others, then professors, your first bosses, your spouses,
Hmm.
your role as a parent, right? What are some things that you do that's expected of you as a parent that maybe isn't necessarily something that you would have done if you weren't a parent, right? And so, Jung says we get that awareness right around our, you know, mid 40s, early 50s, right? And basically because we stop caring so much about what other people think about us, right? And so it's not necessarily as much of an issue. But then, like you mentioned, there's those folks who go their entire lives without really having an understanding of who they are or how how their actions respond to how other people respond to their actions, right? So
Yeah.
it's a it's an interesting thing. Some folks get it early, the old souls, right? They're a little more self-aware at a younger age, and some folks never get it, and it's always somebody else's fault, right? And maybe they were taught
Yeah.
never apologize for anything, right?
Right.
So it definitely is a challenge, to that self-awareness. But you know, just thinking about that there, the self-management, like you mentioned, you've come a long way and learned how to control your emotions, right? Or to control your ideas of, what are, you know, um, times where I need to maybe just take a step back, right?
Hmm.
And not necessarily, turn it up to 12. But then again, there's things where it might be the opposite. Like with me, if something really, really frustrates me, I've had to learn how to communicate that to have my needs met,
Hmm.
right? Because it might not be where I'm going to go off on somebody, it's I'm going to retreat. And I found myself in situations at work and at home, just sometimes just, and I've got things I want to say and they just don't come out, right? And so, I mean, there's both sides of that as well. Either people who express themselves ready to go and other people who really are have a difficult time expressing their needs. And so, that's really an important piece to recognize. How do we manage our energy level, our feelings of empathy, and that bigger picture when we're engaging with other people, for sure.
Hmm. I will say that I might have a reputation for being dramatic. It's the bangs. Uh, well, I'm an I from the disc style, so I am very expressive. Part of my personality is I'm very direct. I am very transparent. I never want people to have to guess what I'm thinking. But part of that emotional self-regulation um, is really tempering that to the situation, whatever it is, and realizing, and this was like the big part of growth, that not everything requires a dramatic response. And giving myself pause to like think about my need. What is it that I really want or need out of this? And then what's the best or healthiest way to approach that? I can't assume that anybody else knows what I need because half the time I don't even know what I need. You know what I mean? Like it's like if I can't articulate what I want from another person, how are they supposed to like get that? And so I have to say, like, part of my growth in emotional intelligence is being with somebody who's emotionally intelligent. And I like the one of like the defining moments for me was like one year we had traveled to San Francisco. I let me just tell you, I had this old beater car. I love this car. I love this car. It was an like a 98 Audi station wagon. And it was like this forest green color. It had did not go into park. It did not have a working e-brake. And so I used to have to park it strategically, like into a curb so that it wouldn't roll out of its parking spot. The other thing too is when you turned it on, you had to like put the ignition just right because if you went too far on the key, your lights wouldn't turn on. It had to be like at a certain like perfect 47-degree angle. Like it was a beater, but I loved that car. So I'm telling you the story of the car because I bought it for $500. I bought it used for 500 bucks. I just needed a way to get around. So I'm not huge on holidays, but I decided this year for this one year for Christmas, I was going to go all out. I had some a little bit extra money to spend. I was going to go buy my kids these fabulous presents. So we went to San Francisco. I bought everybody these perfectly curated gifts. I was so excited about what I had purchased for them. And then I stopped on my way home at Winco, went in, came back out. My window was broken. They had stolen everything, all the Christmas. And this was like the day before Christmas Eve. It was like December 23rd. So I come outside. I see the glass on the ground. I look up. I notice the windows broken on my car. And then I see that the presents are gone. And I just started crying, just devastated, right? And my now husband, he wasn't my husband at the time, but my now husband very calmly was like, I know you're upset, but what's crying going to change? And I was like, sigh ugly, ugly. He said, you can cry all day long. It's not going to bring anything back and it's not going to fix your window. So what are we going to do? What's the next step? And that was like this switch flipped in my brain. Like I probably had heard that same thing 1,000 times in my life. Like, what's being dramatic? What's being this, gonna do for you? And I probably was like, nothing. But in that moment, I was like, oh, like he's kind of right, which don't tell him I said that. But I was like, he's kind of right. Like, what is it going to change? It's not going to change. Is it a legitimate emotion, feeling sad, feeling despair, feeling like, yes, I felt it. But in that moment, that's not what I needed. I needed to choose something else. So, like, what's the next step? Um, and by the way, there's a happy ending to that story. I went to work the next day. I was a bit down. Everybody in my office all pitched in. They got my kids new gifts. They gave me cash. Like it was just a beautiful thing. I remember because my director calls me into a room and I thought I was in trouble again. I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm in trouble again. But no, it was because everybody that was working on Christmas Eve, which was like a skeleton crew, like all came together. And it was like, I never felt more loved than in that moment, let me tell you. So it worked out and that was kind of again like a defining moment. And so when I started to think about like how I approach conflict and how I approach when things are not going my way. By the way, my first instinct is to hurt your feelings. So if you say something or do something to me that like triggers that negative emotion, my first thing is to make you feel like this big. And it's a skill set. Let me tell you, I can really hurt people's feelings, but that's not who I want to be. That's not like the legacy I want to live. I don't want people to be like, oh man, that Tiff, she could really make you feel bad about yourself. Like that's not my goal. So it really came down to like, how do I approach because like happy situations I'm usually good in, but how do I approach when I'm frustrated, when I'm angry, when I'm irritated, when I'm angry? Like that's where I really needed to develop the skill set. And like for me, I don't know how you are in your life, but for me, when I'm practicing a new skill, I almost always start at home because if I get it wrong, they still have to love me. So it's easier for me to like take risks and try things different when I'm with my loved ones. And so I really started to approach, like, instead of being reactionary and reactive and expressing the anger, raising my voice or shouting or how could you not do this, to really just come back to that idea of what is it that I really need right now, or what was I hoping for, and let me articulate that and see what happens. And it really changed everything. I cannot even explain to you how much it changed. But the other part of that is the self-awareness piece of it, knowing that when I'm in a space that I can't self-regulate, because sometimes I'm so pissed that if I say something to you, I'm going to hurt your feelings. Like being able to say, you know what, I need a few minutes to process. Like, can you give me like 10 minutes to come down to earth again and then we'll talk about it. But right now I'm not in a good place to do that. I think that's been a huge defining moment for me too, is being able to call a timeout and say, I know you want to talk about this right now, but I can't be productive. And I really like some time to, so we can have because I care and I want to be productive. So give me a few minutes. And the people in my life who love me and care about me, we don't have tons of these conversations nowadays, but they'll be like, okay, come find me when you're ready. And then we have it. And the other part too is like noticing when other people need a break. So again, if I'm having a conversation and it's getting heated, I don't want to get into the emotional warfare. That's what I call it, the emotional warfare. Like I can say, you know what? I can tell right now we're getting to a space where we're not going to be productive right now. How about we both like take a time out? And when you're feeling more rational and I'm feeling more rational, we can come back together and have this conversation. But right now it's becoming like an emotional tug of war of who's in more pain, and we're not going to get anywhere.
This concludes part one of our episode. Stay tuned for part two, coming Tuesday to all major podcast platforms.